Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos junkie geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, first, Stabby, chaos junkie, does that work for you? You want something else? I mean, we got to rewrite that, so why not?
I'm cool with Chaos Junkie and I'm cool with Chaos Coordinator. As long as you don't call me a dependent, we're solid.
Look, I did it once and you haven't let me. It's been a year, Stabby. It's been a year.
I'm not going to let it go.
She's a woman, man.
She's not going to let it go.
She's going to wait till you're dead and then still talk about it at your eulogy.
Yeah, because I've never
she'd do it at the funeral, too. Like, she's not even stopping at the eulogy.
I've never been a dependent. I got with Nick after his military career. I'm not a dependent.
In my defense, dependent didn't mean the same negative connotation of like military Karen that it does now. Like when we were in the vernacular, it was just dependa as in dependent. It was just slang for your significant others and your kids. Although kids generally were brats, like Navy brat, Army brat, whatever. So I didn't get up with the lingo for your family side of things because I only focused on the other for the writing. And I did it once, and poor Nick, like he had to sleep with one eye open. She stabbed him like 5 times. It was ugly. He called me cussing in the morning. It was a thing.
Yeah.
So anybody's following you on your social media, Nick, knows you're recovering from your situation on New Year's. This is your first episode post that. I don't know when this will actually air, but this is the first recorded episode in season 4 after your little rendezvous at the hospital. So you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm here. I'm conscious. I'm alive. I'm walking. So slowly.
That is always a good thing.
Limp, but yeah.
The question is, are you driving Stabby bonkers? Is she going to survive this recovery process?
Yeah, because was it yesterday? I decided I was going to walk on my own 2 feet without the aid of the walker. So she wakes up and the walker's just sitting there on my side of the bed. And she's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm cooking breakfast right now." She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm hungry." So yeah, she's worried. She's allowed to be worried. I put her through quite the fright. So she's like, "You got to know your limits." And I'm like, "I do. My limit right now is I'm hungry and I want breakfast."
So on a scale of 1 to insanity, how badly did you mess with the nurses when you were at the hospital?
I went plaid a few times, yeah. Ludicrous speed.
Did you comb the desert?
We ain't found shit. Yeah.
But
then again, neither did the doctors. So I was giving them shit about that. I'm like, "Why am I still here? It's like day 5. And you guys said I was going to be out today." "Oh, we're going to keep you for another day." I'm like, if I see you tomorrow, I'm going to be super pissed. And they didn't believe me at first, but I became that patient where everybody on the floor, except for like 1 or 2 crazy nurses that were on my side, didn't want to come in there and check on me. They're like, "Oh, if we go in there and see Nick, he's going to yell at me." I'm like, I don't yell. I sternly and firmly talk to you. And there might have been a little knife hand. 2 doctors, people that spent more years in school than I did. And
a whole lot of nether regions. Everybody saw the nether regions.
Oh, I was showing my ass all over the place.
Everybody.
I mean, it's not your fault in those hospital gowns, in all defense. Like, they're asking for it, really.
They had all the little EKG, all the heart monitoring stuff, and I felt like Tony Stark and Iron Man that was hooked up to the car battery. Because it goes through the gown. They have a little slit there now where all the tubes and wires, and then I had a pulse ox on, I had my blood pressure cuff. So I'm walking around with all this crap, and I was mobile enough to use the bathroom on my own instead of having to pee in a bottle or their little bedtime commode thing, which I used once. And then I was quoting Family Guy, like, "Yeah, pick up my poop, Brian. Pick it up." So once I started being able to use the bathroom on my own, which is probably TMI. But I had windows everywhere, so I would just make sure that the gown was barely on me, like it was covering my nipples, and that was about it. Everything else was a show. And I'd wave at them when they walked by, especially the little pre-meds or the what
doctors
do they do?
Baby docs.
Yeah, the baby doctor coming by with their charts and their stethoscopes, and they're so proud. And I'm sure they wrote home to mom, "Dear mom, today I saw a grown man's genitals." You know.
So for those that are listening on the audio podcast instead of watching, you really ought to. I think they're called residents, Jane.
Oh yeah, residencies. Yeah.
You really
I had
ought
some
to watch
pre-med dudes too, which was hilarious.
You really ought to watch Stabby's facial expressions the entire time Nick was talking. Worth the price of admission. So click the links to our link tree. You can find us on our Rumbles, our BitChutes, and our YouTubes.
And our guest reaction too.
Well, I mean,
keeping it in.
Insanity. So
all I'm saying is that's what his gown was doing, and he didn't ask for shorts until day 4.
Wait, you can get shorts?
She brought me my Ranger panties.
I brought him his Ranger panties, but he could ask for pants. They have scrub pants that you can wear while you're in the hospital.
Like, you want pants? I'm like, nah, I'm good.
But every time that I walked up, he's over here just... I swear, more nurses saw his nether regions than I have since I married him.
And it was cold in the room too, so there was nothing to be proud of. It was definitely strange. But I'm just like, just
Balls.
It's impulsive.
Balls.
It was. I had fun. I like by the 4th day, I woke up and I was like, I'm going to be everybody's problem until I'm out of here.
I have never seen. I've never seen so many nurses whose faces were so red. Just so red.
Oh, if I had access to a Sharpie, I would have drawn a smiley face on my beanbag.
All I'm saying is I'm a lady.
Like as soon as like they were able to see underneath the little man skirt I was in, they'd just be there smiling at you.
I'm a lady and I have to go to lady doctors. So my nether regions have been seen. I've given birth. My nether regions have been seen. I have never seen more nurses with red faces than the ones that had to deal with Nick.
Have you seen I heard the song The Scotsman? Don't
the
know
what?
But the song The Scotsman. We don't know where you've been, lad, but I see you won first prize.
Yeah, where they tied a little blue ribbon on his trunk.
All right, but we're not here to talk about that, and we've just scared away all the families that listen together.
Yeah, all 2 of them.
Yeah, I didn't know it was going that direction when I asked Nick how he did, but I should have.
Well, I mean, I got to provide a funny story for just about every experience that I have.
I mean, because if you can't laugh at life, what else are you doing, right? But the next part of the introduction, dear listener, so that's how we're doing. We're surviving the new year. Godzilla hasn't got us yet, so there's that 2024. And with that being said, we get to talk about how we first found this guest. But before we do that, Jenny, Miss J.F. Posthumus, can you introduce yourself to our listeners and our viewers?
I am J.F. Posthumus. I write urban fantasy, and I'm delving into sci-fi. And I'm published through Three Ravens Publishing. And I have a new novel out.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Series. So, Three Ravens, 2 people. Oh, Nick, you're on point.
I am. My right side was not affected. I'm quick on the keys, as they say. Well,
No, she's got a series, but
I would be squawked at if I did not mention that it is me on the sequel cover.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Put that back up. This is
the sequel cover.
Sequel.
That's book 1. The next one, the one with the yep, there you go.
Yes, with
Dad ass.
Yes.
But is it your knife and your pistol?
Actually, it's my husband's gun.
I mean, your husband's yours. It's the same thing.
More or less, yeah. I like it.
Oh, that is a knife. I thought it was a nightstick for a second. I had to really.
No, actually, it's a
it's like short, a katana almost.
Katana. It's the Kadachi blade.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's a story behind that. Basically, I was talked into it by William Joseph Roberts, Scott, Hillbilly, whatever you want to call him, and my husband.
Hillbilly.
Yeah. He and my husband ganged up on me and were like, that's going to be on the cover. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, that's one way to
my turn.
Costs.
I'm gonna get that call from Hillbilly like, "Hey man, let's put you in a leather skirt." And I'm like, "Nah, you don't want that."
I mean, I'd write a like Road Warriors Mad Max vibe just to get you in that Speedo thing.
Yeah, but I want to wear like the chainmail and the hockey mask, like in the Road Warrior.
Yeah, like get the mankini going on, full Borat.
Yeah, but with
No,
the leather
don't
skirt.
do that. That was supposed to be 2021, so I mean, it's past time somebody did it.
I don't know. I like even numbered years. That's when it gets really weird.
Well, I've basically been talked into being the model for the sequels, and yes, there are other novels in the series. So, yeah,
We'll get there, but before we do, we get to talk about how we found her, which she kind of answered for us because I found her through Three Ravens, where all the cool kids hang out. That's what Hillbilly tells me. And he's publishing my line of anthologies for a little bit, and some of my books that are been finished and sitting in a trunk that just need to dust off to get back to. So he's like, "Hey, we're taking this and this and this." I'm like, "Yes, sir. Sign the contract."
You got it.
Well, he's a unique publisher in that he doesn't do the churn and burn model where you got to write like 12 novels before they'll publish the first one. They'll publish them as they go, which is a lot less pressure and stress, which I'm here for.
Speaking of that, we kind of wrote. My husband and I co-wrote the novels, and we actually have 4 in that series already written.
Nice, but
They just need
he doesn't require
edits and such.
Yeah, editing is kind of slow. They need to get more editors on. I've been harping at Hillbilly for that, but he tried to hire me, and I'm like, no, never mind. Take your time.
Well, I actually wrote that series in
Was it that with COVID time? I think
about 9 years ago. Yeah,
Ooh, way past.
about 10 years ago. So, yeah, we still need to go over them, but we've got some time to do that. And I actually, the sci-fi series, I actually have 6 written total. Yeah, 6 written total. He told me to take a break because I'd written so many.
Slow it down, girl.
He told Declan Finn the same thing. That boy blinks and he writes another novel.
Well,
You're almost
I kind of was forced into taking a break, so
yeah, life happens. Speaking of science fiction and fantasy, this is my blunt force segue. You got to answer the religion question. Are you ready for this? It's important. Can you handle this, Jenny?
Okay.
All right. Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
Why not all 3?
Acceptable. Trinitarian. I like it.
I like all 3, so.
Why choose, man? It's like Neapolitan ice cream. All 3 flavors together, just rocking your taste buds.
I actually was the weirdo that would eat each one separately. I wouldn't like eat them together when I'd eat the Neapolitan.
We have a blasphemer.
See, just throw in Lord of the Rings and we're golden.
We used to do Lord of the Rings, but everyone said that, so it just wasn't fair to everybody else.
Yeah, that was the go-to on the second question, which we're going to go into.
So, because we're polytheistic, Game of Thrones, The Wheel of Time, or The Chronicles of Narnia?
Narnia. I tried getting into Wheel of Time. I couldn't get very far. I'm not even touching Game of Thrones because no. And I grew up watching, it'll tell my age, Wonderworks on TV, and Chronicles of Narnia, the old version, was a favorite of mine. Loved it.
Mine too.
Okay.
Loved it.
All right, and because we're civilized, we're no longer knuckle-dragging troglodytes, you get to ask the most important question for every writer in the world. Coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
Tea and sweet.
Tea and sweet.
So table wine sweet, like sweet iced tea, Southern style, or like actual hot Earl Grey with sugar in it?
Both. I drink both. As long as it's got sugar in it, I'm good.
That's fair. So I watched.
I would crave Mickey D's Sweet D with my youngest. Well, my youngest two. My 9-year-old especially. My husband found the recipe for it online and completely ruined it by making it at home.
Oof.
And he
It's
takes like regular like Lipton iced tea, and then he'll add other flavors to it, and it's so good. And he adds just the perfect amount of sugar, and he totally ruined Mickey D's Sweet Tea. I can no longer drink it because he ruined it.
Husbands ruin things.
Yeah, but he keeps a gallon of it in the fridge every day. So whenever we go through it, he just refills it. He's awesome.
Yeah, as long as he's replenishing it.
He kind of has to. Because my youngest he also drinks the tea a lot. And yeah.
So speaking of tea, as you know, we are affiliate sponsored with Coffee Brand Coffee. And because you guys were so generous over the Christmas holidays, that we got a whole $7.96. And we want you to know we will not spend it all in one place. We believe that covers 1 month of our StreamYards, which we record on. So thank you.
Or shared coffee order.
Or shared coffee order because we're addicted. Don't get me started about the Christmas sale. Some of that might be in us using our own damn code, but you know.
I got to slow down on the coffee now. Doctor's orders.
Yeah, me too. I'm on the healthier me kick for 2024. If I keep it up, I will fit back in my uniform on Christmas. Not that I would, because I mean they've changed the uniform like 5 times since we got out. But
they're in the pinks and greens now.
Yeah, the pinks and greens, the World War II uniform.
Tell you what, you fit into that. I'll put on my coat and we'll do an episode in it, I guess, with my beard and your beard.
I actually thought about doing that, putting my my Class A's back on, taking a picture with the beard, and sending it to my first sergeant. Like, how's my shave now, sir? And I'd call him sir in all capitals just to mess with him.
What's up, first sausage?
I mean,
you're allowed to have your beard now.
Yeah, well, he's kind of passed away, so I'm gonna have to get the Ouija board. But you know, that's urban. Jenny's here for it. She's totally down.
Oh, we can do a seance.
Oh, we should do an episode about ghosts.
You don't use the Ouija board.
No, never. No.
You don't use the Ouija board.
Why not?
No. No.
The lady is speaking,
you invited way too much stuff if you use a Ouija board. No. No.
I promise you that won't be your sergeant.
No.
Everyone talks about ghosts, and you just gotta believe to see them, which sounds like psychosis to me. I have never seen a ghost, and everyone that does, it's always like, oh, this revolutionary battle or this whatever. And I'm like, nobody's got the like circa 2005 guy screaming about leaving Brittany alone. That guy's never seen as a ghost.
No.
It's always just like 200 years ago in a revolutionary.
I don't want to get a modern ghost who's saying like for real, no cap, dead ass. I'm calling the Ghostbusters so quick. You got to go away, dead ass.
Because his ass is dead. I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down there, sir. So back to the guest that we have here, Jenny. How did you get into speculative fiction in general? Like, what is it that brought out your nerd card?
I actually started writing medieval fantasy, high fantasy, whatever you want to call it. And I got into writing urban fantasy through a online forum. They were doing a kind of a we'll give snippets of what we're all working on. We'll trade them up and you finish it. And what I got was more urban fantasy. And they were like, you do that great. You should actually write something in that. So I was like, okay, write what you know. And the first novel I wrote was titled Deals with the Devil. And
I'm in.
It wasn't horribly written, but there were problems with it. I sent it to Bain and they had it for 3 years before rejecting it.
Ooh, they sat on it that long?
That's normal, sadly.
Yeah. And I couldn't even argue their reasons because the reasons were ones that I'd been questioning. So they just kind of confirmed what I was figuring was the problems. And then the online publisher went down the drain. So after I got my rights back from them, I sent it to Bain. They had it for 3 years. And while we were waiting for them, we wrote Taking the Night. And it was kind of let's do something fun. Let's do something different. What if we took, my idea was, what if we made Wonder Woman where she had actual magic and was willing to kill? So mashup of various different characters. And that's how I got Celia. And Mark, my husband, was like, okay, what if we went Batman, except he was a normal guy who wins the lotto and just wants to make his town better? That's how we got Will. And it just went from there.
So that is how you got into writing, but you didn't cover how you became a nerd, which was the general vibe of it.
I've always been a nerd.
So you just born that way, factory install?
I grew up, I read, started reading fairy tales because they were the closest books I could get to read. And then my dad introduced me to Star Trek because he would watch the reruns on TV, and he would let me stay up. And the one episode I remembered was Trouble with Tribbles, and especially the one where he opens the hatch and they all come falling out.
Classic.
And then, of course, he loved James Bond, Westerns, murder mysteries especially.
Louis L'Amour.
And he actually would keep horror. They were the little magazines that you could get that had like horror stories in it. Twilight Zone.
Okay.
The little magazines. He would keep them in his truck, and whenever we had to go somewhere, I'd get bored and go digging through the truck to look for something to read. It was the only thing in the truck, so I would read them. I hate horror, but I would read them because I was that bored. And I just read Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, Boxcar Children, all of those, and somehow I ended up finding nerdy stuff. And my husband introduced me to so much more. He introduced me to D&D. The first time I watched Lord of the Rings was with him. I would sit and watch Star Wars. Well, actually, Star Wars was my dad. He got me hooked on Star Wars. Star Trek, Star Wars, all of that stuff. I would just binge watch with my husband. And then I've always loved, mythical creatures and stuff, and D&D was perfect. So kind of always been the nerd, the weirdo.
So Nick actually started as a jock, but then there's that time he doesn't like to talk about where he's abducted and probed and everything. He's hooked on the
No. I was a jock, but that was my beard, so no one else would. I wouldn't get shoved in the locker. I'd be like, "Oh yeah, shove that dude in there," and then I'd help the dude out later. Like, "Hey man, sorry about that."
Like we're still we're still playing D&D tonight.
I was playing D&D in the barracks, man.
See,
and high school.
I hear these people talking about all the things they did in the barracks. I'm like, we drank and we went to war and then we drank some more. But that was it. I missed all the parties.
Okay, I never played D&D until after I graduated, but when I was in high school at the vocational school, the teacher, his favorite thing to do as a teacher was, here's a torrent site. Here's BitTorrent. Go download games. Hey, we have Quake 3 now. Let's share it around the classroom and have games.
Hell yeah.
So I was playing Quake, Quake 2, Quake 3, all Half-Life, all of those at school, at the vocational school instead of doing actual work.
Double kill.
Do you remember the Napster scandal when everyone was going to convince the FBI was going to be knocking on their door?
Yeah, we did that too at Votech. So yeah, it was fun.
Hopefully nobody got arrested.
No.
Where did you go to high school?
Me?
Virginia.
Buffalo Gap.
Oh, okay. That's because you said something about Votech, and I'm like,
That's a
Different
class
Votech.
Vegas high
for school.
school.
It was called Vocational Technical Center.
Yeah, they had one in
Uh,
Vegas, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was actually called Votech.
We have one. We have a couple in
Anything
Hampton.
special.
In Hampton Roads, they're all called that as well. That's just generic for like trade type programs.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, and usually they are called something vocational technical center. But in Vegas, the sign straight up said Votech. Your diploma said Votech.
No, I went to. Well, there's a few different high schools in my area, but I went to Gap, and no, that's not the answer to any of my security questions because, dear heaven, anyone could find
Too
that.
obvious. It's too obvious.
Anyone could find it. No. And I went to Votech for computer repair and networking, and we mostly sat in the classroom and played games.
Nice.
Her password is 123 though, because she's got skills.
We were playing Duke Nukem in my senior year of high school.
Oh, I love that game. I remember LAN parties in the barracks where we would play like Halo 1 when it first came out on PC.
Yeah.
That was always fun.
Oh yeah, good old Halo.
Plus, when you're the SDM for your squad, everybody wants to be the one to snipe you in the session.
Oh, of course.
Like, this is a video game. It has no correlation to real life. At least that's what I
Right.
told all of them. I don't know if it's true or not. They actually did a study. There was that Japanese guy that came over from Japan where they couldn't have guns. And so he did a lot of airsoft, and that translates. So it makes me wonder, because he was actually like dead on when he got you real guns with Donut Operator and Brandon something in Vegas.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if those that did it online, if that has any corollary.
Online, I don't know, but I would think actual going out with airsoft or paintball.
As long as your drills are
would be a little
I
different.
would think airsoft makes sense to me, but I'm just curious if there's any crossover with the skill set for like aiming. There's a video floating around right now. It's a World War II sniper playing some like Call of Duty type game, and he's using like, okay, I'm going to shoot the corner of this building dead on. It hit dead on, so I know my range now in this video game. And suddenly he's sniping everyone, just applying basic principles of marksmanship, which is why I kind of wonder after watching that video if maybe there is a little bit of crossover, at least with aiming.
I would say it would go from real life to the game and not so much the other way around.
Probably, but it made me
Because,
question.
I mean, you cannot take a video game controller and use that to figure out how a gun is actually going to fire, because you also have the recoil. You have the weight, you have the recoil, you have the wind, you have all of that makes a difference.
Yeah, you gotta apply your dope or data on previous entry or engagement.
I mean, there's a lot more physics when you are doing something with an actual weapon versus a controller.
I remember everybody muttering when we were at the SDM school that nobody told us we'd have to do math. We were not.
Yeah, you guys are like sniper light, so yeah, of course there's math.
The funny thing was the final test. They were really trying to just get to see if anybody they wanted to send on to further training. So they were like, you can't see it, but taped in the middle of the target is a dime in a Ziploc bag taped, and if you hit the dime dead on, like you pass the next. And so I made a joke. One of the guys that made it, we called him Dime Bag. And so when I ran into him at the VA, I called him that. And suddenly, like, this fat VA cop is ready to tackle him because he thinks he's selling drugs. It was hilarious.
Dime Bag Daryl.
Yeah. If I had been the one tackled, I might not have been laughing. But since he was the one getting smothered by the fat guy, I'm like, I was totally cool to laugh.
Yeah.
Damn, JR, you dimed him out?
Yeah. All right.
Oh, mom jokes.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
You did good. On a scale of 1 to 10, dear listener, dear viewer, rate that mom joke in the comments. You can give her like I'm giving her a 6.5. Delivery could have used a little bit of improvement, but she'd stab me if I gave her a 1, so it's got to be above a 5. It's kind of how this rolls.
Yeah, an argument could be made for 7.
Yeah.
In all fairness, you guys don't shut up long enough for me to hit that on the head.
That's true. She's
That's
trying to
valid.
squeak it in there, just like wedge it in between the short
Yeah.
pauses.
I mean, I've been told I was talkers too much, so like I know. Well,
JR
having
has
our
never
personal
learned
calls-
STFU.
Yeah, so when we have our offline calls where we just shoot the breeze with each other, she's sometimes like, JR, shut the bleep up. It's my turn to talk.
Yeah. Can't
And
do it
then
on air.
she's
It's
back, I'm
rude.
laughing hysterically at my pain. Because what else are you going to do? All right. So we're here to talk about your series. So you mentioned you wrote the first book, and let's throw that. Let me get that cover up for book one. You mentioned that you wrote the first book, 9 years ago, you said. So where did the genesis of the idea for the Nightshade series come from? Like, what's its origin story?
Honestly, it was exactly what I said. I wanted to write something different, and I think that was about when the Marvel stuff was starting to come out, and I've always loved Wonder Woman, but I was always like, she's too nice.
Huh.
What if you took, now mind you, I didn't read the comics. I watched the Linda Carter TV show.
Yeah, she was
So-
definitely too nice and beautiful.
Oh yes, she was gorgeous. So it's like, okay, what if you took Wonder Woman and gave her actual magic, and threw in a little bit of Scarlet Witch, and have it where she has no problems killing people because it's survival of the fittest on her island. Women rule, but you got plenty of fighting and stuff going on her island. So that's where that came from. And then of course Mark came up with the idea for the Sandman, aka Will, and we just was like, okay, how do we do this? And somehow we sat down and figured out the plot line and went from Taking the Night to Taming the Night, and I can't even remember what the other novels are titled. I have them somewhere. I do have them saved, but I can't remember what they are because I have no memory of anything right now.
That's valid. So I know this is classified by Amazon as urban fantasy. Would you call this a superhero story then?
More anti-hero, because Celia definitely is not a superhero. She likes to kill a little too much for that. Will, more the Batmanish type, where he'd rather disarm and knock unconscious and leave them tied up for the cops versus killing. So it's more the anti-hero type urban fantasy superhero mashup.
Yeah, they have like a looser moral code when it comes to ending a life.
Yeah.
Okay. Does she have a cape? Because that's an important distinction. Superheroes have to have capes.
No cape. Don't you
Trench
remember
coat?
Edna? No capes.
I was
capes.
waiting for Nick to say that line. He normally does.
Yeah, because most of my heroes have capes.
She has a trench coat. She has a trench
There you
coat,
go.
and the Sandman has a trench coat. She wears like the scarf around her face. She wears a wig, blonde wig with like green hair with green tips, and she has a scarf that she wears around her face to hide her features.
Like shadow vibes.
Exactly. And Will actually wears the balaclava with the Australian fedora and the trench coat and a lot of Kevlar. A whole lot of Kevlar.
Bulletproof Rorschach.
Everything that they use with very small differences, I'd say 95 to 98% of everything that they use, you can actually find.
So it's a little bit grounded in reality, despite the
Yeah,
powers.
there was a lot of research that was put into it. the phone that she ends up being given later in the series, I had to go digging for that like 9 years ago to find a phone that you could do that with. I mean, you can still find them too. They're just a little cheaper with a few more, techie parts to it, like, apps and stuff, but you can still find them. The sunglasses that she and Will use, you can find those. The weaponry they use, you can find them.
So it's awfully modern as far as the setting.
Yeah. It's kind of like if you took New York, Chicago, maybe a couple other large cities and combined them together.
Put them in a blender.
Yeah. The city's run by 5 mafia families. There's a story behind that. It's not my story to tell.
Okay.
Suffice to say that the mafia part of it is accurate.
I'm not going to ask Stabby to assess that because she signed some NDAs, but I'm just saying she knows some people in waste disposal.
I'm not telling. Well, yeah, sort of.
She is from Vegas, so
Leave the gun. Take the cannolis.
All right. So
when you're born into a family with the last name Lapriori, there's an understanding.
Yeah.
You don't get more Goomba than that.
They weren't born into it, but yeah, they have knowledge.
I mean, does the Samsfield count as a mafia, Nick? Do we qualify?
Well, yeah, it's the E4 mafia, and it spreads multiple branches of the service.
Right.
So technically, you got 4 families.
But yeah, 5 families. Celia ends up being the adopted daughter to one of the 2 top families. She's it starts out as she's the adopted daughter to the underboss.
Ooh.
Her uncle is the mafia don.
So, when you say it's not their story to tell, are you going to come back and visit the mafia stories in this universe when these stories are done?
Oh, it's not my story to tell how it's so accurate.
Oh, I thought maybe you were going to come back to the story of the 5 families later. I mean, I got what you were saying, but
oh my God, JR.
Yeah, that's how you get 86th, man. They drop you out to the desert. They drop you. I am
lucky that the lake is going down. I mean, they found a lot of bodies, but I'm just saying I'm safe for a little bit.
Just remember,
there's other lakes,
nobody,
man.
no crime.
That's right.
Nobody, no crime.
No building, no
men tell no tales.
Hard way. No, are you going to come back to those crime stories as well?
There are parts in the novels where you find out things that the families do. And the first one, it's the crap. Remember when I said my brain? I have no memory. The second one, since we went back and did the edits, there are parts in the second one where you go and it's like, oh, the families do this. They do skin trade. They do all sorts of other illegal things. And it's touched on throughout the series. And you found out that Soren, her adopted father, is trying to move away from the more illegal aspects. Whereas other dons in the city are trying to really hold on and corner the market on certain things.
So this is being recorded right as on the week of MarsCon. We had some people cancel because they forgot they had scheduled to go to that convention, and so I reached out to Hillbilly and I said, "Hey, any of your authors to fill this time slot?" That's how we got you here today. Not that I'm complaining. This was on our list to get you back after you were on for the Believable Aliens episode in season.
It was fortuitous.
But one of the things he sold this universe as when he was pitching it is this is a universe where you can tell any kind of genre stories in because you've set it up. Like that's why I thought when you're talking about the mafia, like maybe there's like a Dick Tracy type story or a, you know what I mean, like crime story, all this stuff.
I don't have those stories, but if anyone were to approach me and be like, "Hey, I have this idea," I'd be more than willing to hear them out and see what they have. And if they wanted to write in the universe,
Hell yeah.
you know,
So
let me know what you got, you know,
you mentioned
and we can discuss it because pretty much any of the universes I've come up with are pretty open. You know, it's a vast world. You're gonna hate me, JR. The sci-fi series that the prequel to it will be coming out by spring, and still waiting on edits for the first actual novel in the Injustice series. But that one has a world Bible, a very extensive one, and it's probably even more, yes, that one. It's a wider scope than even Taming the Night or even the medieval fantasy that we've done, because it's multiple worlds that you can play in.
Yeah, that's a new conceit in the indie market where everyone wants to write massive universes that everyone plays in. There's danger in that. First, you got to make the first series in that universe pop to make it worth it. And it's very important at that point that you maintain like integrity of the universe, because it'd be very easy to go full Star Wars where you just like that was one of the
See, that's the thing with this one. Chris, my eldest, he helped create this universe. He helped extensively. If he were around, he would be grumbling and growling and eye rolling and saying he didn't do much, which is bullshit. We had so many conversations. He answered so many questions. The universe wouldn't be what it is without him. And for that reason alone, I will be very particular about that universe because I owe it to him.
In memoriam, I get it. No, I just meant like one of the problems when Disney bought Star Wars, and we've talked about this briefly, but long story short, one of the many problems is George Lucas said yes to everything that came his way. So you ended up with many of the novels where like Han, because everyone wanted to write the three, like Han, Luke, and Leia. But then they would have them over here on one day, and 10 days later they're over here, but it takes 12 days to get there. So like there was just no consistency in the timeline. And that's the danger if you just say yes. You have to like maintain.
No, I have zero problem saying no.
or
I have
adjust.
No problem saying no.
I've written in other people's universes, and the trick is always to take the universe, find the dark corners, and shine light on them. So you play in their playgrounds, but not necessarily with their main characters. So
I mean, I have whole worlds that have been mentioned, like very briefly, very glossed over, and it's like you could absolutely take that world and be like, I want to do this, and if it makes sense and fits with the universe that I've created, okay, give me a story, make it a well-written one.
But yeah, it's just one of those things you have to be careful, because that's what got Star Wars in trouble. Way before Disney ruined it, George was already saying yes.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I grew up, well, not technically grew up, but I read a lot of the Star Wars novels, and I love the Star Trek novels, the original series, but there are some incontinuities between the novels, even in Star Trek.
Yeah.
And despite how much I love the novels, I'll still read them and go, wait a minute, that doesn't match up with how?
Continuity.
You know.
That's the biggest problem about having multiple people in your sandbox.
Yeah, I would say like this. That's why if like Star Wars, if you wanted to do it right, you find a stormtrooper or a rebel unit and you tell their story. Like one of the multitude of many minor skirmishes that happened throughout that larger war. Perfect fodder. That's the way you approach writing in someone else's playground, and I've done it a couple times. Is always find the dark corners and then put your own figures in the sand and have fun.
Exactly.
Rogue Squadron, perfect. Rogue Squadron did it perfectly.
Yeah, but so many in the indie, I've seen the danger where they let it get away from them, because at a certain point in time, like, you can write your own novels or you can manage other people writing in your world, and you can't do both sometimes, and then the series gets away from them.
I'm a lot pickier than my husband. Because we put together a anthology, and unfortunately the computer he was using was having network connectivity issues, so not all the edits saved, which we discovered when we were going back through Taming the Night, because it was like, wait a minute, that sentence was supposed to have been deleted.
Oops.
So I'm not saying she lives in the country, but sometimes her bedtime is listening to the dueling banjos in the background.
Are you kidding? There are times when I see the sun rise thanks to a 7-year-old.
Yeah,
it happens.
They do that.
But okay, so you mentioned the trench coat and stuff. So when you're talking trench coat, just trying to get the vibe of the ambiance of this universe, are we talking like Blade level grimdark trench coat, or are we talking like Inspector Gadget business casual kind of trench coat?
More the grimdark.
Okay.
The shadow, more that style, the dark leather trench coat, that kind.
So
Makes
if
a cool silhouette.
Yeah, so if a gun not like Nick read your combat scenes, is he going to freak out because you, I don't know, put the safety on your revolver or something, or did you vet all that?
One mistake in the first one that got past pretty much everyone, and it was supposed to have been, I think, a 2-pound pull, and it was written as a 2-ounce pull. Don't even ask me how that happened, because I have no freaking clue.
Oops.
But it got past us, it got past Scott, and our narrator caught it.
Good narrator. I hope you send him a bottle of something, or her.
She's fantastic. Terry K. Job is just absolutely.
Oh, we know Terry.
Oh.
Hey, Terry.
Yeah.
I didn't know she
was regular.
She is who brought Mako alive. So yeah.
That's good.
It's all coming together.
So Nick, if you start taking pictures for your own covers, if you start writing like some short stories in your worlds, that means all of the costume prop stuff you buy because your hobby is now tax deductible because it's a business expense.
It always was.
Yeah, except now most of the wardrobe is stuff that I currently own for reasons.
I mean, you can just buy more just because. Why not? It's tax write-off, people. And if the IRS is listening, Nick's address.
I think I'm a broker.
Now my address is 1800 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah. All right. So you've written 2 books. You've got
what you're putting down.
You've written 2 books. You said at least 4 more ready. Where do you see this series having? Oh shoot, we forgot a commercial. We'll do that next. Do you see this series as having an end? We're having too much fun. It's Nick's fault. Stabby, we're blaming them.
Hold on, I got a banner for that. Hold on. No, keep going. I'll find it.
Everything's Nick's fault.
4 written in the Nightshade series. There's a 5th one that kind of wraps up everything. It could still be open-ended to where if we wanted to write more, we could. But the 5th one kind of wraps up the story arc. Still gonna write it, which will happen eventually. But but we do have an ending planned.
Well, you're already better than George R. R. Martin,
right?
Or Rockford. Take that, Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick.
Those 2 authors are why I don't. I'm cautious about series that I'm going to read because I've been left hanging with unfinished series, and it's just.
Isn't that the worst?
It's the worst feeling ever. I promise my readers, I end every series I write. They will always get their ending.
I actually have, for the Injustice series, the first 3, the 3rd one wraps up nicely, and then I have a 4th in that one where a few little details that you probably would miss are it comes out. So, and then I have another trilogy that I was working on before June happened. And that one basically ties up every loose end for that whole series. I mean, it's not, they're little tiny things that aren't really that important to the storylines. So, and most people would probably be like, wait, there's more. I kind of did that.
It's like that Shamu guy. But wait, there's more.
Yeah, wait. The ShamWow? I love it.
ShamWow.
I own like 5 of them.
No.
The
But I need
storyline for the Injustice series, first ones are wrapped up nicely, and if I didn't have the ideas to continue it, it would have been a good ending regardless.
So Nick, here's the plan. We're gonna get the commercial. I'm gonna play our commercial too, but we're gonna get a commercial for this series that Terry records, and then we're not gonna tell her that she's the sponsor of an episode. So it'll be once she's on, and then we just play her talking, just to watch her face off camera.
Oh, that's gonna be hilarious.
She'll never see it coming because I doubt she's listening to this episode.
Oh, you don't know that. She's a fan of the B&B podcast.
So what we do is we plan it out for before we air this one.
Yes.
And then I jump out of a cake. Surprise.
You know, that worked for Steven Seagal.
Erica Elnack.
Yeah. All right. So before I forget too much longer, we're gonna air that beautiful bean footage with the commercial. Boom.
From Armax
That-
Tilsley,
Boom.
author of Brains, the post-apocalyptic pick-a-path adventure with more than 60 endings, comes the Susie Steele adventures. Susie has a heart of gold, a set of bad dreams, and a hidden destiny. 6 months ago, Susie's father went to work and never returned, leaving Susie to her hobby of chasing away nannies. That is, until the mysterious and glamorous Cassandra roars into her life, driving a red sports car and promising to be the best of friends. When Susie stumbles on her father's secret lair, a world of magic, ghosts and mysteries beckons. Can she discover the truth, avoid being expelled from school, and keep a ruthless secret society off her back? She's to have a ghost of a chance. She'll need the help of her best friends, one grumpy cat, and a whole lot of daring. The Susie Steele Adventures from R. Max Tilsley. Book 1, The Steel Trap. Book 2, The Steel Bite. Perfect for readers 9+. Available in print and ebook.
All right. Thank you, Robert, for sponsoring this episode. Friend of the show, our favorite Australian.
Roberto.
He's always sending me recipes for the weird food they eat in Australia. They have some weird block of cheese, which they cook and eat like it's a hamburger. They fry it and everything.
I'll try it. He keeps sending me stuff of like him in his armor, and then he just says challenge ? And I'm like, I don't know what he means by that. I don't want to get hurt.
All right. So yeah, he sends me all the cool stuff. What did he say? It's called drawing a blank. It's called Halloumi burgers. HALLOUMI.
But you know me, man. I'll if you want.
Yeah, it's a
Something
cheese
spicy.
and they serve like hamburgers. I'm going to throw it on the bottom of the screen so you can see the spelling, dear listener, while we let her answer the age range for this story.
Dude, that was my question. What's the age range for the story here? And you just took it, and now I just asked it. So, yeah,
Golly, can't leave you two alone for 5
you really
minutes.
can't, especially with a bottle of hooch. Only bad things will come of that. Probably a novel.
So, so age range for Taming the Night, adult.
Okay. When you say adult, you just mean mature because of the violence and the cussing and such, or
Yeah.
Steamy scenes?
I don't do steamy scenes.
Okay.
I actually
All right, no smut here, listener. No smuts.
I actually cut out the steamy bedroom scene from Hidden Motives. So yeah.
Ooh.
Is there a reason you don't do that? Is it just because of target reader, or are you just?
For one thing, Three Ravens, publishing it through them, and two, I can write them. I apparently do a good job according to the people who've read them, but to me, they're not really that important. When I've read romance, I skip over it, so it's like whatever.
So you're telling me that the challenge is to write those scenes, slip them in, and see if Hillbilly notices.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that to him.
We call that the director's cut.
Me and Nick just had a conversation about this the other day because a friend of mine was telling me I had to read this smut book. And then...
Was it JR?
No. and then I came across a book talk TikToker that's saying that if you read any smut romance, that you're just a addict to something we don't talk about.
Corn. You're a corn addict.
Just for reading a book. And
Maize. They call it corn.
Nick asked me, he goes, "You read that stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah. I have all of the 50 books, and I skip past that."
Yeah, she skips over the corn part.
I was like, "There's no point in reading it. They're just
buys the magazines for the plot, honest, for the stories."
That's why I bought Playboy back in the day, for the articles.
But here's the kicker. It's the last 3 of the series. I only bought them so I had them. Because I had to finish the series.
That's valid.
So,
I mean, there's urban fantasy with those scenes in it. And a lot of urban fantasy now, it's not surprising to find the scenes in them.
Anne Rice.
Chris Marie Green had an entire, I think 6-7 novels, and every single one of them had those scenes. And you are not bored.
So I can't write those scenes because I was emotionally scarred the one time I did. It was a thing. My mom is my first line editor for those before it goes to the publisher. I have word aphasia from the head injury. So sometimes I get words mixed up. So I need someone to go through and make sure what I said was what I meant to say. And so when I sent her the first one I wrote that had one of those in it, she was like, "I don't know what you and your wife do, but go do it again and then re-edit it." And then I was just like, "Nope, can't do it. I'm done. I'm out. No more Chuck Tingle for me."
No more. No.
Yeah, I normally give my dad a copy of whatever I write. There is a anthology that you can get on Amazon called Heart's Enchantment. He does not have a copy of that for a reason. And I did not give him a copy of Hidden Motives.
Enchantment, you say?
When I originally wrote it.
Hold on.
Nice.
Look at that.
Ping,
It's
what is that?
on my Amazon page.
Button? Speaking of buy button, I really need Amazon to add a button on every author profile where you just buy all.
Buy all, yeah. Buy collective works.
Yeah, that ought to be a thing.
Well, then I'd spend $60 on the Felix Chance series. Buy all. I'm like, oh, I didn't even read the first one yet.
But yeah, he does not have copies of either of those because no.
You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
All right, so adult content or adult mature violence, cussing, that sort of thing. But none of the naughty bits.
No.
Now we're going to throw that art up. I've got that up for you, Nick.
Throw it up. I mean, put it on the screen. Don't throw it up. That's not that kind of show. Okay, who's the model? Is that
on that one, that was stock art.
Stock art?
Stock art.
No, it's an appealing cover. Got it screams urban fantasy. You got the ominous moon in the back. You got the cityscape going on, and then you got a nice little raven-haired woman in leather.
You don't want to know how many covers I went through to get that. It's sad.
Oh, it's a chore, I'm sure.
For that one, yeah.
On the comic book side of the house, what I deal with, it's you could have 90 covers and they're all going to say the same thing that you want to say. You got to pick the best one. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, book 2 has a very lovely cover as well. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna stab you like remotely if you say anything else. So,
oh yeah, well, she's not. She'll just stab me in person on air. Everyone gets to see it. Now, what I like about this, it does fit a theme. You're telling the world through, you're giving a little inside look of, future readers. Oh, she's
what was
about to
that,
stab me
Stabby?
Between that and the incident, I get stabbed like 9 times a day. Sometimes it's by the knife. But no, it gives you a little sneak peek of what the world's about.
So the city, I'm guessing, is water plays a factor because both of them have sort of that waterscape.
Yeah, there's like is it a bay? There's a bay there.
Oh, there is, and that actually for the first one, I wanted the cityscape, and I actually have a map of the city, and I used Richmond, Virginia, as the base to figure out how I would draw up the different sections of the city for each of the 5 dons.
Oh, that's cool.
And Lucian has part of the Bayside. Al has more of the downtown main city area. Carmine has another part of the bay. The bay, the docks, and that. And for Taming the Night, Celia is able to go back to her homeland. And there's other things that happen near the ocean front.
So who got short pump?
I don't remember.
That's just because I know the Richmond area.
I love short pump. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, the Richmond area is where I went. I went to Richmond for my MEPS, and the hotel they had us at when I enlisted was so bad the pizza guy wouldn't deliver after dark. It's that bad.
Yeah.
It's
certain areas are. Yeah.
The Midlothian Turnpike area used to be pretty shady. I don't know if it still is. This was like circa 98 when I went. That wasn't that long ago, people. It was like 10 years ago. But yeah, it's an interesting.
I love it.
Did you play the Riverwalk in there too? Do you have an equivalent?
There is a scene in one of the novels where she's walking through a park and they get attacked at the park. Or in one of the novels that happened. I think it's in the next one. It's in the next one.
So have you got the covers for those yet? I know you make
well, I kind of need to do the photography for those.
Okay.
Because they kind of changed what the covers are going to be.
That's fair.
I can't argue them, I could, but my husband's just
money.
like, oh, you're doing it anyway, so
Saves you a little bit of money if you're your own model.
Actually, yeah.
I'm just waiting for him to rock the fishnets for us. I mean, I'm sure he could do it.
Oh my god. I concur.
Okay, I can't.
Just don't look on my Facebook, dude.
Yeah, go on her Facebook.
Most of my photos.
Wait, you've got Nick rocking the fishnet?
Yeah, by all means, go.
You've got.
I say that.
Okay.
I saved that for my OnlyFans, dude.
So you mentioned that it's urban fantasy with a little bit of the superhero tropes going in. What elements of urban fantasy did you put into this world? Talking vampires, werewolves, magic, what?
Mostly the magic. It's the magic and her homeland of Temeria, where you have unusual creatures that you're not going to find anywhere else. You have.
Thank God you made that island pronounceable.
Temeria? Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, one of my husband's best friends is a huge comic book nerd. And I actually reached out to him. I was like, okay, here's what I'm wanting to do. How do I come up with a name? And we went back and forth on, I think it was Facebook Messenger for a while, and he helped me come up with the name, or how to figure out how to come up with the name.
It took me 15 years to figure out how to say Thermoskia. So
there's a tendency in fantasy to just throw a bunch of apostrophes up. I'm convinced that they name medicines the same way. Somebody grabs a bowl of alphabet soup and they just start scooping it up and like, oh, okay, that's what the medicine is called. And they do it in fantasy for names too.
Guilty.
I did some of that in the sci-fi, but I mean, it's sci-fi on an alien world. They're kind of the space elves of my universe.
Space elves.
Do they have bows? Do they get to shoot dwarves?
No, but they have swords.
Swords are cool.
Yeah, and they don't. You can't murder in cold blood without, being punished by death. But you can duel anyone for any reason, and you can kill your opponent legally in a duel. Hence why cold-blooded murder is, punished by death. So why kill in cold blood when you can just challenge them? And if you suck as a duelist, you can hire someone.
So Nick, what I'm hearing is make dueling great again.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what I did.
That person chews way too loud. Duel.
Anyone who steps on the planet is susceptible to a duel. You step on the planet, if you're an ass, you can be challenged. It doesn't matter if you know how to duel or not.
Do you have to say yes?
If you don't, you immediately forfeit.
So then they automatically kill you by default?
Yeah, they could. As long as they're, challenged to a duel, technically, I guess
it's one of the stakes, yeah.
I haven't quite gotten into that, but basically, if you're challenged to a duel, you either forfeit or you yield. And if you yield, depending on the rules and how you want to look at them, yeah, you can kill them. Because that actually is posed as a question between Violetta and an opponent in the third novel.
Okay, so we'll have to have you back when that series goes live because I'm here for it. Is Terry going to be narrating that as well?
Yeah, she's probably going to hate me for it because of all the names. So the cast for Hidden Motives isn't that bad because it's kind of a first contact between the Calasians and humans. But when you get to Scales of Injustice, it has a vast cast. And the further you go on, the more your cast grows. It's fun. I loved writing that series.
If you're gonna keep going, ooh, you have to do Terry's fingers too.
Ooh.
Got to do it all.
I haven't picked up her mannerisms yet when she does ooh. Eventually we're going to do a voice off. With all the different voices that we do.
Okay. So you've got the other worlds, but for your urban fantasy, so you do the magic, you've got the superhero like sort of origin story planet. Are there any other tropes that are urban fantasy that people are going to see that are like, okay, yeah, that's totally urban fantasy that you lean into?
And Taming the Night.
Well, this is the Nightshade series writ large.
In the Nightshade series, it's mostly the magic and how she uses it and her origin. She has certain like crystals that she spells so that Will can use them. And, he can speak the word and use the crystal for that particular spell. So you have that. I didn't go really heavy on the urban fantasy tropes because I hate doing the tropes. But she's definitely the magic user of the universe. And there is another magic user. You meet her in Taking the Night, Marissa. And she's a necromancer from Temeria.
One S or two?
What?
Marissa? One S or two?
One S.
Oh, dear.
Stabby sometimes has a first name that her parents gave her. It wasn't Stabby out of the womb. So I called her first name once, and she just looked at me. She's like, "JR, are you mad at me?"
Why did you call me that?
Okay, so you don't really like the tropes. So do you use other genre tropes, or do you try to just not think about that in general when you write?
When I was writing the series with my husband, it was basically a have fun with it, and just he had a goal of trying to make me laugh while he was writing it, especially for the second one.
Okay, laughter. So is there for the reader reading this, is there going to be a comic element that they can
Oh yeah. There are
reading this chuckling out loud to themselves?
Yeah, there are several scenes in Taming the Night where we had Terry laughing, we've had the editors laughing. I can't, anytime we tell that particular scene to anyone, they crack up laughing because of how it's written. And there are just things throughout the novel where it was meant to be a light-hearted, fun thing, because the third one is really when everything ramps up.
Okay.
It's kind of the prelude between the first one and the third one.
I tried to write a comedy once, and people are like, "JR, do you need to talk to somebody? Like,
Yeah, you need some professional help, bro.
Like, should we talk about the psych ward?" And I'm like, "No, this is me trying to be funny. What's your problem?" So I just don't go for the humor.
It's really dark, bro.
There's definitely humor in it, and it was meant in that way. And like I said, it's before everything really starts ramping up in their life in the third and also the fourth one.
Okay. Do you plan on revisiting that after the series goes deeper, like trying to keep some of that comedic element?
I don't know. Like I said, the third and fourth we've already written, and the main reason for all the comedy in the second one was because Will was trying to figure out how to best propose to Celia, to get Celia to say yes. And because of all the personalities Will has been going through to keep her family from finding out who he really is, it's been annoying her father. So you have that angle also. So after she ends up, obviously she says yes. It's just had to figure out the right personality that he could stay with that would work.
Okay. So
I'm not going to say which personality it is because that will be too much of a spoiler.
Does the dad's character get a large role, or is it more like a secondary, third level character?
It's more secondary. I mean, his role becomes a little more important in the later novels, but in this one, it's still secondary.
Okay.
Spoilers, darling.
Is the magic just out in the open in that world, or is it kind of hidden?
She starts out keeping it hidden because she was told, no one can know about the magic.
Right.
But the more she goes on, the more it becomes known by the bad guys.
Okay.
In fact, I think it's in the first one where the one bad guy's like, keep the crazy witch away from me.
Okay, so the bad guys know, but does the general population know about the magic, or are they sort of out of in the dark, I guess?
They're still in the dark.
Okay. So did you make a hard and fast rule for your magic system? Like, because you mentioned your husband plays D&D, do you have like rules for it, or you just sort of wing it?
Pretty much winging it. We basically are using the comic book styles, no particular one, but just kind of keeping that idea throughout.
So Nick, as our resident comic book person, I'm going to cut you off, Stabby. I know you had a question, but as a resident comic book person, Nick, do they tend to have like firm rules, or do they just sort of wing it? Like, what does magic in comic books look like?
Dude, have you ever read a comic book? It's all loosey goosey.
I used to read the ones that come with the Bazooka Joe gum. Does that count?
No.
I read the Walking Dead graphic novel as well. Does that count?
There was a time in comic book land when the rules were the rules, but those rules have been thrown out the window. So pretty much anything goes. You know, you have characters like Scarlet Witch that could only do certain things that was reality bending. Then they start throwing class. Oh, she's a level 5 mutant, so now she can like morph the world. You know, instead of her, controllable surroundings. So yeah, it's that. Everything's kind of fast and loose now, as far as in the comic book world, as far as rules.
Do you like it that way, or do you like the rules?
I don't know. I can take it or leave it. I did like when there was rules, and it's like, okay, well, this person can only do this, and that made for interesting stories because they had to work around that weakness of the things they couldn't do. But then you'll have a writer that threw the rules out the window. They're like, oh yeah, surprise, spoiler alert, they can do this now. It's like, what the hell? 30 years of continuity out the window. But it does make it interesting, and then sometimes it's just, there's a word for it. It's like a ex machina, It's just...
Yeah, God in the machine. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you outline these when you write so there's like a clear arc, or you just make it up as you go, right into the dark, as it were?
We totally, for this series, the Nightshade series, we were totally winging it.
So you shot from
We
the hip.
would sit and discuss, okay, what should happen next? But that was pretty much all the outlining we did.
I mean, Nick's a little anal. He's to the point he writes op orders before the battle scenes. It's bad.
I did it once, JR, and I'm never going to live that down.
No, never. But hey, it was Santa and there were elves, so it was cool.
Yeah, we should have probably put the op order scene in there, but I think a lot of people wouldn't have got it. So.
They'd have been bored out of their mind. We should have published that as a separate, we should do a Patreon for the podcast, and we'll show that op order.
Here's the op order. It's like, okay, the elves, here's the commander's intent. All right, let's turn it over to command and signal.
We just write magic for some of that crap.
Yeah.
Magic. All right.
Santa hand wavium.
Our basic premise was that Santa made the elves nice and they were feral little critters. So we went full feral. Because why not? But back to you, Stabby, your question. I don't want to cut off your time to talk.
I was just curious if you have a favorite secondary character.
They would have to be the brothers, Alex and Bernie. They're the two Celia's. Basically, they were her babysitters when she first came to New Campania when she was 16. And, she crushed hard on Alex. And Bernie was like crazy about her, but he's kind of the high school jock, locker room jock.
Yeah.
So, and Alex was always the smooth, debonair one. And oddly enough, Alex was always the more deadly one of the pair.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was the one who would go in and kill whoever Al told him to kill. They were the enforcers. Alex looks like a businessman or an accountant. Bernie looks the part. So it's actually, you're watching Bernie when Alex is the one who comes in and takes you out. And they just have such a good relationship with Celia that, she trusts them completely because they've been there for her, and she's just been around them so much that she knows she can trust them. And for someone who's from an island where men are treated horribly and women are raised to treat men horribly, for her to actually trust these two brothers, that says a lot about the type of people they are, how they treated her, and the fact that she learned to trust them so much despite how she was raised for 16 years. So
It sounds
they're
like
also fun to write.
with this series, it sounds like giving away too much about the bad guys is going to give us too much into the spoiler territory. But we do like to ask a lot of our authors, if you could live in the world you created, if you could live in this, whatever the realm is called, would you live there?
That one, I like writing it, but I don't think I'd be wanting to live in it. Sci-fi universe, yes, absolutely. That one, not so much.
I just want to live in the sci-fi universe that has the nanites that like control like how your body handles fat. Because if I could drink all the booze I wanted and eat all the nachos and like Chinese food I wanted without getting fat, I'd be totally game for that.
Yeah,
You've been talking to Scott.
I mean, you know, it's just a guy thing. I think at a certain point in time, tacos, right? Like
tacos.
Yeah. Wait. Did Scott tell you that? Because I don't remember posting that anywhere. Did I?
Posting what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Someone's been stalking again.
I was too lazy for that. I was editing for the publisher, so
that's like insider trading. You'll go to jail for that.
Well, no, I got an anthology up because we just.
I love the fact that you knew that and you love that.
Like legit, I have no idea what you're talking about. I just like tacos, and then I said, let me eat as many tacos as I want. I'm there for it.
That's the world I want to live in.
If you've read the Theogony universe, I think that Chris Kennedy wrote. It's the one where he had the main character's name was Sean Hobbs, or Calvin, and so his nickname, of course, his call sign was Calvin. I'm John.
See, I never read any of his.
But he wrote one where the nanites let you do that, like they would process your food so you could eat all the fatties you wanted. And,
that's awesome.
So the nanites in my universe are a little more in depth than that. They actually remove, like if you're not at your peak performance, they actually go in, remove the extra fat. You don't even have to use a bathroom. They basically remove any and all waste products.
Well, that changes my morning routine.
Sweat, anything. Like, even if you're in great form, they will take it 3 steps further. You literally are in your best.
So everybody's a superhero at that point.
And
I need one of those.
So you'll get a kick out of
this. Biosuits. That's what their biosuits are made of. And you can drink as much alcohol as you want. And because technically alcohol is a form of a poison, it removes all the poisons and impurities from your body, so you don't get drunk or anything. You can drink everyone under the table as long as you were wearing the biosuit.
There's no fun in that. So
it is if you're gambling with the others who aren't wearing them.
True. So Nick will get a kick out of this. I narrate when I write. So I wrote a scene about medical nanites, and for whatever reason, the Nuance Dragon dictation software translated that to the medical nanites to milky Mennonites. So now we actually know the origin of holy cow. We just
my lord.
See, I thought writing cover operations for covert operations was bad.
No, I thought that was so funny. I took a screen grab. I still got it somewhere on my hard drive.
That's awesome.
But we've been at it for an hour and 20 minutes. And Stabby's going to fall asleep because she's got to get up early in the morning to homeschool. So I can't keep this going forever, or she will hate me in the morning, and I will. So, with that being said, when can they expect book 3 out for publishing of the Nightshade series?
I have no clue.
So we got to plug the Three Ravens people about that one.
Book 2 just came out. So
nice.
Okay.
So this one just came out back in December, and I totally dropped the ball on posting about it because everything going on in my life. Hidden Motives will be out by spring.
Okay.
And for anyone going to MarsCon, I will have super duper rare ARC copies. I'll have like three copies with me. Yeah, I'll have 3 copies with me.
Nice.
Sweet.
3
So
print
this
copies
is
that
recorded
have
on
not gone through editing or anything, so they really are.
proof copies.
Yes.
So this is being recorded on the 9th, so the Tuesday before MarsCon starts on the weekend. So you'll hear this probably after that. Oops, our bad. But that's the reality of the podcast. We recorded about a month in advance. With that being said, obviously we know when your books are coming out. So if you want them sooner, just bug the publisher because they're editing. I mean, it's really just hillbilly and caffeine, so he can stay awake. Just mail him more caffeine. I'm sure he would not say no to that if you want it sooner. Just send him a couple pounds of Coffee Baron coffee. Use the affiliate link. Podcast Grunts is your code. Take the discount. Ship it to Hillbilly. Stay awake. Sleep is for the week, and he'll edit quicker.
That's right.
That's how you do it, people. But how can listeners and viewers find you on the interwebs to digitally stalk you?
Well, they can find me on Amazon under JF Posthumus, and I have a Facebook page that I try to keep updated. That's under author JF Posthumus, and if they can figure out my real name, they can find me there too.
It's Jinkies. All right. And this is the part where I also remind you, dear listener, dear reader, dear viewer, to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books, so do your part. I hear that if you give her 1,000th review, you get a unicorn too. You get a unicorn, you get a unicorn, she gets a unicorn. We'll make steaks the Texas way. Oh, this is the important question because Nick is from Texas, so we have to ask this. It's like contractual for him to keep his belt buckles and stuff. How do you grill your steaks?
How do I grill my steaks?
Yes,
I let my husband do it, but
acceptable answer.
I prefer a medium because I cannot stand the taste of blood. If I can taste the blood, I cannot eat it.
Okay, that's acceptable. Nick, does it pass muster? Will they let her visit Texas?
Yeah, you just gotta stay around the Dallas area.
What happens in Texas if you say you like them well done?
So you go to Austin, straight to Austin.
All right, Nick, how do you like your steaks?
A good vet should be able to bring it back to life.
Okay. What about you, Stabby?
Medium rare.
Me too. Medium rare. I have to memorize that because if you go by colors, I'm colorblind and I'm already screwed and it's already leather at that point.
Warm and pink in the middle.
That's what she said. What?
Ooh.
All right.
As long as I cannot taste the blood, I'm okay. I just
That's the
I
best
cannot
part.
do that. Oh no.
And you can find us on our Linktree, linktr.e, Linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChutes, the Rumbles, the YouTubes, the Twitters, the email for professional use only people. We have our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. And more importantly, for all the unprofessional stuff, we have Madam Stabby Stabs, Instagram, Twitter, and email, where you can send her the hate mail. So far, you guys have been slacking. She has not yet cried. We can do better, people. And I don't know what it takes to make a Vegas person cry. You probably just have to tell them the casinos are closed. I think that's about all it would take.
No, tell them the buffet's closed.
That might make the fatty and me cry too, though. So,
I mean,
yeah. Recovering Fatties Unite tomorrow. You could find us on our website at anchor.fm/blasters-blades. Again, anchor.fm/blasters-blades, where for as little as 99 cents a month, you can help keep the lights on. Do your part, people. These shows are not free to produce, and we appreciate every little penny. It all helps. We are working on our merch store. Nick's medical situation set him back a little bit. It happens. His wife wanted him to sleep and be healthy and all that weird stuff.
Learn to walk again,
Learn to walk again. Stop traumatizing the nurses. It was a thing, people. But you can also support the show over at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Or, as we mentioned, Coffee Brand Coffee. Links in the show notes. Code is Podcast Grunts. Get some of their delicious coffee and or tea. I don't know if they're going to keep doing the tea, but the hot chocolate, I'm just saying my mom, She was loving it. Best Christmas present I've ever got her, apparently. And I happen to know I handmade some stuff when I was a kid, and she's like, "Nope, this is totally better." I don't know if I'm
Better than that.
because I got her some of the coffee brand coffee hot cocoa.
They have snacks too.
So I don't know if being replaced by chocolate is a good thing, a bad thing, or just a thing. Let me know in the comments section. But yeah, so you could do that as well. And with that being said, we appreciate you coming and spending your precious time with us. For my crazy co-hosts, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And with that being said, we also want to give one last shout out to our new logo, which you are looking at on this episode, and the lovely lady that made it for us, because she's just so cool. Thank you, Jenny, for the logo. Hopefully everybody loves it. And we're going to rock on. With that, we are out. Boom. Wait for it.